feel like this is gonna be so good because I get the most. I get so many questions. People are like, "Why was she touching your forehead so much? Was she praying for you? Like what?" Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. I hope all of you are healthy and safe and well. You know what I'm gonna say. If you're not already subscribed, pause this video and press subscribe down below. Along with that, hit the bell notifications link so you know when a new video is going live. Okay, so today I have my wonderful doula here with me, Tequila, and I was getting 1,000,000,001 questions from you all as far as doulas, midwives, home births, just the specifics of getting a doula, how do you find one, all that stuff. So I figured it was best just bring the expert here to answer you all's questions, because pretty much everything I learned is from her and, you know, research, but also validated from her, because she'll be like, "Jalisa, get off the computer," because that is incorrect. But I figured it would be best to bring her on here so she can introduce herself and we can answer some of the questions that you guys have. I posted a question box on Instagram and you guys submitted some stuff, so we're gonna get right into it. But before we do, T, you wanna introduce yourself?
Sure. Hi, I'm Tequila with Mama to Mama Southern Love. Instagram is mama2.mama. I'm a fertility doula, birth doula. I am specialized in belly binding. I'm a CPR instructor. Oh my goodness, what else do I do?
All of it. All of it.
Some of everything. I also have breastfeeding classes and breastfeeding consultations. So that's pretty much about me.
How'd you get into it?
So I've always had a love about birth. I used to watch those TLC shows, Birth Story, Baby Story, every single one they had about birth. And I was gonna go to school to be an OBGYN.
Oh,
I actually went
tell me that.
pre-med.
Okay.
I was pre-med bio, but I fell in love with psychology, so I ended up with a degree in psychology. But then when I got pregnant, it brought me back full circle to my love. But before then, I had watched a documentary that I tell everybody to watch, A Business of Being Born.
That's what got me. I'm not going to be a doula or a midwife. That documentary, I already told you guys, that documentary got me.
I tell every parent because it has so much unbiased information in there that is needed for everyone to know. So I saw it and I was like, yeah, I don't think I'm going to give birth in a hospital. So then when I got pregnant, that's when I entered into this new world of birthing. And I found out more about people that I've never even heard of. Of course, I knew what a midwife was because my best friend had a home birth.
Oh, yeah.
So I was like, okay, let me find my midwife. But then I started taking classes and it was from doulas. And so I was like, wait, this is like, I like this. I can get into this. I can do this. But then it was just more so like, while I was pregnant, I was birthing my purpose, and God literally led me to do what it was that I was supposed to do anyway.
So great.
And I'm just so happy that I didn't go to med school and be more in debt just to get here to something that wouldn't have cost as much at least.
Yep.
So yeah, that's kind of how I got to it.
Perfect. Okay guys, so we're going to get straight into the questions. Per use, Shay is behind the camera. And she's going to read some of the questions that you guys submitted on Instagram, and just some that I have been getting through my DMs and stuff frequently, so we figured we would add them. But without further ado, most of the questions are probably going to be for T, so if I'm just sitting here smiling, that's why, because she's the expert. But some of you guys did ask about my specific experience and stuff like that, so I'll just jump in there. But go ahead, Shay.
Okay, so what is a doula?
A doula, by definition, is a support person for the mom. So our main focus is the mom. Everybody else's focus is the baby. So we make sure that mom is well taken care of, and provide many other resources, community resources. We provide comfort measures. We help lower a lot of statistics when it comes to birthing in the hospital. And we attend home births, birth center births, hospital, C-section, induced, planned C-section, unassisted, in the woods if you want to. We're there. We're there to support you and make sure that you're comfortable and having the best experience that you can, while also providing you the education and also your rights.
So when I first got everything aligned with T, she gave me a list of resources for like anything from, you know, if you want to do the home birth, this is a list of different midwives that you can interview and see, you know, who you want to go with. Here's a list of pediatricians in your area or in the city of Dallas. Here's a list of pelvic floor specialists, chiropractors, stuff like that. So pretty much they are like your hub for all of your information. And for when I was doing my own research online and stuff like that, like I told you, I could always cross-reference with T. Like, I read this, it's not adding up with what I heard or whatever. Can you validate this? And she'll be like, okay, this. Or if I'm feeling like a weird symptom or like this is happening, is this normal? I would always text her, probably annoyingly throughout the entire pregnancy, like, this is what is happening, or I'm feeling this, is this normal? Should I expect this? Sending disgusting pictures, like, this is what's coming out of here. Is this normal? That's what they're for.
Yeah, your pregnancy bestie.
Yes, exactly. So you don't have to, like, you know, even sometimes when I would vent or like, you know, just want to just get something out, T was that person, because I'm like, everyone else is probably going to think I'm annoying or whatever. So they're kind of just like your everything from a pregnancy perspective.
What is a midwife then?
Well, the number one thing that a midwife is the person who delivers your baby. A doula does not deliver your baby. We will not touch your baby if your baby is coming out. Even if we're there and we are the only ones there, you will have to deliver your baby. We cannot deliver your baby. So that's the main difference between a midwife and a doula. But a midwife is the person that you go to for your prenatal visits. And I mean, basically it's just an OB, but in a natural way. It's a midwife. And midwives, they do home births and birth center births. There are some midwives that do birth in hospitals too. Depending on the hospital, they may have a particular wing that's just for kind of like a birth center birth, but in a hospital setting. So when there comes to midwives, there's licensed midwives who just went directly to midwifery school, and then there's certified nurse midwives. They are nurses that went to midwifery school. The difference mainly is how did they go to school. They both provide the same type of services. The nurse midwives just have more of a medical background than a just licensed midwife. So
they can prescribe medicine.
Yeah, they can prescribe medicines. They can even do like women's check. So even when you're not pregnant, you can go to a midwife that's a certified nurse midwife. Actually, both midwives can actually do women's health check for you. Mm-hmm. The midwives, nurse midwives can actually do prescriptions and stuff like that. So you can see midwives even when you're not pregnant.
Right. So if you do go the home birth route and have a midwife, you can have both. It's just if you're in a hospital, you don't technically need a midwife, right?
No.
Yeah.
Not
so
unless
one or the
midwife
other.
is the hospital one, but still an OB can come in and take over.
Right. Okay.
How do the two work together? And so I guess like chemistry wise, and do typically doulas and midwife like know each other?
Chemistry wise,
mine did.
We kind of work as a team because we'll bounce ideas off each other, things of type of care that the mom may need while she's in labor, while the midwife isn't here and the doula is here. We take notes, so when the midwife does come, if there's anything the midwife needs to know, we pass off that information to them. Is there anything that the midwife may see that may be going wrong? They'll come consult with us, because sometimes us as doulas delivering a certain message can be a little bit better than when they can, and they'll take it a little bit easier coming from us as doulas. But we work as a team, so it's kind of like head coach and assistant head coach.
I also want to add, being that working with T as my doula, she kind of knew a little bit more because our relationship was a bit more extensive. So when I was in labor and I could not speak for myself, or like, you know, just as far as like my desires or like what was going on, she was easily able to convey that to my midwife, and would be able to do that. Oh, you did do it when we got to the hospital too. So I think they work together in that aspect, as the doula kind of knowing a little bit more about where you are mentally, what's going on and stuff like that, and easily being able to convey that when you can't do it for yourself. Because there was a period where I wasn't talking. I could not talk. It was just, all I wanted to see was tea, and she was telling me to breathe and getting me to relax. And that could happen in the hospital or at home, or probably does happen when you hit a certain point of labor, and they're easily able to convey your wishes and stuff like that to whoever you're working with.
How soon can you get a doula?
You can get a doula as soon as you pee on a stick and find out that you're pregnant. So,
like early. You don't have to wait.
The earlier the better, because for one, payment-wise, for some people they may need a payment plan. So if you get it early on, you have way more time to pay it, because for most doulas, you have to pay it by 36, 37 weeks. Mm-hmm. So you have plenty of time to be able to pay it. And then
Midwives too.
Yeah. And then also, depending on what type of care that your doula provides, there may be different things that they may have you doing that will be better off doing early on in the pregnancy versus trying to rush it at the very end. And then also, if you just need help trying to figure out who you should go with, who you should pick, or just finding the provider, knowing the different providers, your doula can be able to help guide you in that way and provide you with different resources. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, the earlier the better, because the last thing you want to do is be in the middle of your pregnancy and having to switch providers.
Yeah. Yeah, and I've actually, in my due date group, I've seen so many people who were like 30 weeks, 35 weeks, and it's like, I have to get a whole new OB or, switch providers and all that kind of stuff. And I can't imagine going through this whole process and then having a switch like that in this fragile time, because you're already like off your wits, like the hormones, all that stuff. Like, I can't imagine doing that. But also as far as knowing all of your options, because even with T, I was like, okay, so this is what I've been watching, this is what I've been reading. Does this make sense for me and my medical history and all that kind of stuff? So the earlier the better what to do. And I want to say, don't you even consult with people who are trying to conceive?
Mm-hmm. Okay. Under my fertility doula.
Yeah. Oh, so it's a different thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's
fertility.
Not, okay.
Yeah. So it's fertility, and then the birth, which is, then you got postpartum doulas. So it's all
I think that was a question too.
Does the cost vary for having a doula based on like where you live in area, or is it roughly the same?
It's where you live in the area based off of the experience of the doula, because a 20-year doula is not going to charge fees that a 2-year doula would.
Yeah.
But definitely the major factor is where you live.
Should every mom at least try a home birth?
Depending on your medical history will determine if you should have a home birth or not. If you're healthy, then of course. But each midwife will definitely have a kind of like a scale on if you're risking out of actually having a home birth. And then depending on where you live, you may not be able to have a home birth at all with a midwife actually attending it. Because in some states, midwifery is banned. And in certain states, they can only give or attend births that are in birth centers. So you will have to check with what your state regulations are. And then from there, be able to see what you can do.
Can you say what a birth center is?
A birth center is kind of like the middle between birthing at home and birthing at a hospital. Most of them are in a home. So it'll seem like you're at a home, but they're close to hospitals and they have other equipment and things, but you still have the freedom as though you were at your own home to do things or labor how you want to labor.
And there also are hospitals that have wings that are something like birth centers, so you would still be connected to a hospital. And there are pros and cons to all of it. But there are hospitals that have like birth center like wings where it's like it feels like you're at home, but you're really like in a different wing of the hospital, to where if there was an emergency, whatever, they could rush you straight to wherever, labor and delivery in the hospital. So there's tons of options, and I feel like with me sharing all of this information, like it's not to convey anybody towards any way, but I think that me just going through this experience, I realized how much I didn't know about how many options I do have. And even like my rights and things like that T had taught me, like, no, you don't have to do this. If the doctors or nurses say that they recommend this or whatever, it's not the end all be all. You have options. You can say no. You can say I prefer this. I want to birth this way. And I think that's the biggest thing that even just me doing this video, I'm trying to convey, just for us to just know what we can do, what we can refuse, what options are out there and stuff.
Why do you think people automatically believe that a hospital is safer to birth in?
Most people think that because that's the only way that they know everyone's giving birth in. Because when you look at the numbers,
that's why I smile. That's why I smile, because I'm like, this is a loaded question.
If you look at the numbers, for me, I would not feel safe to give birth in a hospital. And because a lot of mothers are now learning what those numbers are,
especially being Black,
they're starting to realize this may not be the best option for us. And then they start researching and finding out that there's other options. But it's just what we're taught. That's all that we know. That's all that they show us. It's very rare that you'll have anything that show you about having a home birth. Mm-hmm. And if so, it's overly dramatic. So it still is not a good picture.
It's like you're in the bathroom, baby just shoots out, no one to help,
yelling and screaming, and just But then you look at the videos, the real videos that people are posting. You're like, this seems a little calm.
Yeah, this is not as bad as I would have thought.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
Could you just touch on what a postpartum doula does?
So a postpartum doula comes after you have had the baby. They're basically kind of like your village. Back in the day when a woman would have a baby, and even some actual villages still uphold this, where when you have a baby, everyone comes and they help you do different things. They help to feed you meals. They help to make sure that you're getting your water, your bath, like you're well taken care of. And that's pretty much what a postpartum doula is.
The mom.
Yeah.
The mom. It's just like T is focused on making sure the mom is okay throughout pregnancy. The postpartum doula makes sure the mom is good after birthing. I have a postpartum doula, which is probably why we got that question. But just as far as making sure, all of the tasks that I would have wanted to do, or I usually would do in the house, that I could possibly have like an anxiety of like, I can't complete the laundry, I can't wash the baby's clothes, I can't cook for my family, I have to have someone hold the baby or do this so I can take care of myself. That's what my specific postpartum doula does, and I'm sure all of them. But pretty much catering to the mom, because, when baby comes, it's like,
baby.
Everybody's focused on the baby. Mom is like sitting here in a pool of blood, trying to take a shower. And, everybody's focused on baby, which is, okay. But I think it's a different level of calmness and just help with you specifically. So when my midwife comes, when my postpartum doula comes, or she'll text me that week, like, what do you want to eat this week? And she'll come and she'll look in all the laundry baskets and see what there is to do. Do I need to restock baby's diapers? Do I need to do this? But everything that I would want to do if I was up and moving around normal is kind of what she takes care of.
And she also answers all the questions.
Oh, yes. A lot of them are certified in so many different things. So mine is a lactation consultant. Mine is a newborn care specialist, a sleep trainer. She does all of that. So a lot of them are experts in baby, pregnancy, postpartum stuff, where they're kind of also just a resource with whatever you might be going through postpartum-wise.
What are some questions do you feel like moms should ask doulas before hiring them?
Doulas and midwives.
What are some of the questions, JaLisa, you remember, like,
because you gave me a list.
This. Yes, I did give you a list.
Yeah.
Oh, man. I'll give you all of the list. I'll give you all the list because there's so many questions on there. For a doula, for me, a lot of people get hung on certifications, but there's people out there who have been a doula for many years before there was even a certifying body that has tons of experience that may not have a certification because doulas aren't regulated, so we're not required to be certified. It's just something that we do to be able to calm the nerves of parents. But honestly, you should just ask about their experience, especially depending on if you have any type of, I wouldn't say illnesses, but anything that may hinder your pregnancy, if maybe they have experience with that, the type of resources that they have. There's so many questions to ask.
I think for me,
the different
also,
specialties that they're like, what else do they offer? Do they have childbirth education? Do they have lactation? Because some doulas are lactation consultants. And some doulas are even registered nurses. So it's an array of things that you can really ask. But I definitely have a list, and I don't mind giving the list.
We'll share it.
So that you guys can be able to see that.
But I also want to add, as far as like interviewing and really just making sure that you're comfortable with them, because this is probably the most vulnerable time of your life throughout a pregnancy. Being able to be open, because there were a lot of times where I'm like, this is probably the stupidest question or the most annoying thing to ask, but I can ask T that, you know what I mean? And I feel like if you have someone who you don't feel that level of freedom and connection with, it will kind of taint your experience a little bit. So I do recommend just meeting with them and seeing how you vibe and see, you know, are you okay with the dumbest of dumbest questions, you know, that I may think, and kind of just feeling out, just like with a relationship, but you're so vulnerable at that time. I think it's very important to make sure that it's somebody who you feel comfortable talking to and kind of sharing whatever your fears or whatever with. So I think that's also important, rather than just reading a list of interview questions, because if you do that and they still get all the right answers, if you don't feel comfortable with them, it's not a good experience.
Yeah, and even for the midwives,
you're
supposed to interview you're really supposed to interview your OBs. But people don't know that. They just go and pick one because this is what their insurance says that is covered. But you actually need to interview them. They need to answer questions too. You are in control. You are hiring everyone. So you're the boss. So you got to go through the interviews. You got to see if they qualify. Because the last thing you want to do is get to Labor Day and not feel comfortable. Right. Not feel heard, not feel comfortable. You know, it'll cause the baby to not even want to come out. It'll slow down your labor. And that is the last thing you want to happen.
Yeah.
If you get a doula, how long would you recommend them helping you? So I guess they're talking about like your birthing doula, and obviously T, you still check on JaLisa. So like, what's the time frame from when you meet your mom and then to when you say your goodbyes, I guess?
I guess this is where because you stayed what?
So I'm with you till up to 6 weeks.
Okay.
And
but even in labor, you still stayed after baby got here for a certain amount of time.
Yeah. So usually the length of care is based off of what package that you pick with your doula.
Okay.
Because everyone have different things that they offer, especially when it comes to postpartum. Because a birth doula is really there to help you through labor. And then we do postpartum checks, but some people do 1, some people do 2.
Yeah.
So it really just depends. Because really after that, the postpartum doula comes in and takes over the role of being the person to help shepherd you into parenthood. So it really just depends on the package that you choose with your doula. And then also if you're having a postpartum doula, because you're kind of just in doula care for a while. Right. But it just depends.
Can women over 40 have home births and get a doula?
Yes, women over 40 do have home births, and they also have doulas. There's not an age limit.
Why do you think people think that?
Well, because it's so put out there that once you get to a certain age, you're kind of high risk. So some midwives may risk you out, some may not. Really just depends. That'll be a question you can ask when you're interviewing. But there are women who are giving birth at home, and they're like late 30s, early 40s. If you're healthy, you can give birth anywhere.
What are best ways to take care of yourself postpartum? And I guess this is for both of you, really, because now JaLisa, you're there.
Yeah, but I'm still kind of figuring it out. I just take it day by day,
The best way to take care is actually get up and brush your teeth.
Yeah,
showers
are like the spa to me now. Like literally, even though I do hear a crying baby every time I get in the shower, like she can literally be right outside the door laughing, and I just hear screaming as soon as I get in the shower. But I hear that's normal for moms.
Yeah.
But yeah, I feel like it's so individualized.
It is.
Because even with me, you guys follow me on Instagram, and I always post, what'd you guys do for this? Or, what were ways that you took care of yourself? And I feel like it's so different because for me, working helps me feel sane. It helps me feel some sort of normalcy. So while I don't work at the same pace, the same capacity, the same vigor, anything, but getting up, and even if I'm just pretending like I'm working, I feel good about myself, and that's a form of self-care for me. Getting my makeup done or, doing something to my hair, that helps me, feel like myself. I know a lot of people are like, you need to lay down, you need to do this, which while you have to take care of yourself and heal, but like feeling some sort of normalcy mentally helps. And I feel like everyone has their different things that helps them feel good.
Yeah, whatever your self-care is. As long as it's not having sex before you're supposed to.
Which is what?
Depending on what your provider tells you.
I don't think Tracy really told me no time.
Tracy, if you're watching, text her now.
Tracy, definitely.
But okay. She's saying that because she went with I got my midwife from her. Well, you gave me options, but I love Tracy. But Tracy also delivered her baby. But 6 weeks is what it is. T minus.
That's all that I can say.
2 weeks today. Cues fireworks.
Insert confetti. What are key pain management techniques you would recommend? Because JaLisa and I have both looked at the questions, the comments, and the concerns on like why you were in her bubble during labor.
They're like, what was she saying to you? Was she praying for you? Why was she touching your
holy
forehead?
oil? Why are you upside down?
They wanted to know about that one position so much.
That too.
Yes.
That too. So the inversions and all that stuff.
So their movement. Movement is the number one thing that can help you. I know it sounds crazy because you're like, oh my gosh, I'm about to like bust wide open. Movement will help so much. Moving around helps to shift the pelvis, so it helps baby get in the position. But it's also kind of like when you have that sore muscle and stretching it just feels so good. That's what movement does when you're in labor. Also, taking a shower, soaking in water. It helps to alleviate.
I took so many baths those 3 days.
You were squeaky clean.
I was just laying there.
It helps with pain management when it comes to even birthing. When the baby is actually coming out, the water helps to calm that warmth. Just like some people may put a heating pad on their stomach when they're cramping. That's what the water feels like to your body, that heating pad, and it just calms your nerves. Most of the time you're fighting your contractions and you're making the pain a little bit more worse than it would be if you was just to surrender to it. And
that's what she said to me 753 billion times every contraction.
Relax.
She just kept telling me to relax and surrender and relax and surrender and then breathe. Because I think our natural reaction is to like brace yourself for the pain that you know is coming. But that's why she was this close to me every single time. Like, because you obviously, you're zoned out, you know what I mean? So even though the contraction would be 5 minutes away, I would still forget all of everything she just said, that last one. So she would just keep repeating it, so I would just let go and let my body do what it was going to do as much as I had.
So when you guys saw me touching her forehead, I was smoothing out her brows because we hold tension in our brows. So I would look at her and I would automatically know that she's probably going to hold tension. And then me doing that is to remind her to relax.
And my jaw.
Yeah, the jaws, I would go down her jaw. That will remind her to release the jaw because a tight jaw is a tight pelvic floor. So you're fighting against your baby. I would press down her shoulders. That would help to relieve all of that tension that she was holding all in her chest. That ends up holding all in the pelvic floor.
Which stalls your labor.
All of it. Stalls your labor, believe it or not.
How do you mentally prepare for labor?
That's a you question.
Well,
that's
loaded.
It is a loaded question. Think about how you deal with pain any other day. Most of us, unfortunately, have painful periods, so we kind of have a routine on what we know that we have to do when it's that time of the month. And you handle pain the same way when you're in labor. If you go and do those same things that you kind of learn how to cope with that pain, you can learn how to cope with the contractions. Also, just being educated on what the meaning of this contraction is, because a lot of times we're just afraid and we carry fear in the unknown. So if you know why you're having contractions,
it's literally bringing the baby closer to you.
Yeah, like, it'll help you kind of zone out on, I'm like, this is so much pain, and it'll be more of a mental thing where you're changing it to saying, this is bringing me closer to my baby.
And that's what I was thinking the entire time, because that's what T taught me. Every contraction, I was like, okay, we're one step closer to actually meeting her. Like, we're one step closer to the finish line every contraction. Also, one thing you told me, which you probably tell everybody this, but it kind of stuck with me, is like, my body was meant to do this. Like, God designed a woman's body to give birth without all of the interventions, without all of it. Like, I am capable of doing this. And even just remembering that, no matter which way the birth went, remembering that I am capable of doing this, I am strong enough for this, kind of talking myself into that helped a lot.
And you can check out Hypnobirth. That helps a lot. It's almost like a meditation type thing, but it has an array of different things for you to do to help you, in a sense, zone out of labor. And it can even make you so zoned out that you feel like you're watching yourself. Like, it's an out-of-body experience because you're just almost not there. It's hypnotizing, really.
And
that's what it is.
I promoted a Christian hypnobirthing app that I downloaded, and it was essentially the same thing, but they were reciting scripture. So that, without a doubt, helped me a lot, just as far as like remembering who I am in Christ, who He is in me, and that I am strong enough for this, and all of that kind of stuff. It made a world of difference, which is why your girl was able to do that for 3 days without crumbling, because it was something different. But that definitely helped.
What are some ways your husband or significant other can support you during labor and like not interfere with the team?
Men, come close. You actually have a role in labor. No, you cannot go sit in that corner and wait for the baby to get here.
So call me when they come out.
You actually have a role. You help more oxytocin to be produced. And the more oxytocin, the more stronger contractions, the closer you are to getting baby there.
So if you guys saw videos of Corey just coming in the room and laying there and kind of getting in my ear and all that stuff, that was purposeful.
We'll even tell your husband, go kiss her. Go kiss her, go cuddle, go hug. Go have your time to yourself, because we need those contractions to be strong. And that times produce more oxytocin. So you have a major role in labor, because you can help it go even faster by producing more oxytocin. You can help support by holding if she needs to do squats, because that's what her body is telling her to do. If she needs to get in and out of the tub or in and out of the shower, help her use the restroom, because it's a lot of stuff that goes on down there where you just start to feel a little weak, and you want somebody to just be there. But even if it's just for her to lay her head on you, that means the most to a mom that is in labor. So yeah, you need to actually be there.
And I also think having those conversations ahead of time. So I know when designing our birth plan and just all of that kind of stuff, like Corey and I had a conversation of, this is how I want you to be. These are the type of things that I would want to be said to me. All that kind of stuff. Because it's our first, so we don't know. But like we had a conversation of, this is how I want you to be there for me. This is what will mean the most. And that it helped because then neither one of us were freestyling off the whim. Like, we actually prepared for game day. You don't just go in just, thinking that you automatically know, because, we don't. But we had a conversation of, this is how I want you to be present. This is how I want you to touch me. I'm not really like you got this. Yeah, you got, like, I don't do that. Even in church and stuff, it makes it worse. Yeah, it makes it worse for me. So, but some people like that. So we had the conversation of, like, this is how I want you to be there. And there will be times where I want to go in a room and just be by myself. Like, it's nothing against you. I'm not meaning anything, but sometimes that's just how I like to cope with pain and stress and stuff like that. So having those conversations isn't a bad thing.
And then also, it's your duty to be educated too. It's your duty to know her rights, because
Corey was arguing with people on Instagram.
You're the only other person who can speak for the person that's coming out of her.
Yeah, that's very true.
I can't make any medical decisions for anyone as a doula. Mm-hmm. And in some states, you are literally the only person who could make those decisions, especially if there was something that would happen to the mom and make them unconscious. You're the only person.
Yeah.
You're the next person, even if you're not married, you're the next person who can make decisions, because for this baby, you are the person to decide. So this isn't the time to just sit back. You need to be heavily involved. You need to have a childbirth education. Also, so you don't pass out. You need to know, you need to look at the videos too. Get used to it so that when you're there, you can fully be there and not miss anything.
Yeah.
Because, it can get a little intense.
The whole time, Corey was like, so we want to, excuse me. I was like, okay, Dad. Excuse me.
Exactly. This is the time that you step up and take on your role.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I will note that JaLisa expressed her birth plan to the whole tribe here. So
anybody who was going to be in this house, they had a full layout of, this is how it's going to go. This is what I want to happen. And I feel like it just, like, although it may seem that I was being overbearing or, like, annoying.
No, it's your day.
Exactly. And it just made it so much easier because in the zone, everybody knew. You know what I mean? Nobody was, forcing their way into anything or trying to do things that weren't needed. Everybody kind of knew, okay, this is where we are in this process. This is how we're going to go. And when it was time to get up and move, everybody was like, all right, let's go. We're doing this. And no questions asked. This is what's happening. And I just feel like there was a peace with that because I didn't have to, like, T, can you go out there and blah, 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 or can you stop people from coming into the room, or can you, everybody just knew. And also, they know me, but as far as birth is concerned.
But you would think, people,
yeah,
the things that I hear that people do to mothers, even, like, family, I'm like, this isn't your time.
At all. At all. Or just like them getting worked up because I was like, even if you're starting to feel nervous, and I express this to everybody, even if you're starting to get nervous and anxious and all that kind of stuff, go to another room because I can't even mentally, I don't want to see it, because if I see fear in your face, if I see worry in your face, it's automatically going to transfer to me. So even with my mom, I was like, you're my mom, so of course you're going to start freaking out at some point because your baby is in pain. But I was like, Mom, can you just please, when you do, or if you do feel that, she was fine the whole time, but I was like, if you do start to feel, anxious and worryful or whatever, just step to another room and gather it, because if I see worry in your voice, in your face, and hear it in your voice, I'm going to freak out and it's going to stall me. So I was very transparent with everyone who I wanted present. About my desires.
It helped a lot.
Yeah.
JaLisa, this question is for you. How are you coping with the sudden changes that you had to go through with your birth plan?
I am surprisingly fine. I really believe in my heart that I did everything I could to prepare. I did everything I could in labor. I feel like a superwoman. Like, I feel like I did everything I feel like I did it, you know what I mean? So though it didn't come out the way that I would have desired, I feel like I did everything in my willpower to, do what I wanted, you know what I mean? And I don't know. I felt like as a mom, I had to make that decision. And I feel no regrets. I have no regrets at all with my decision. I feel like I wish. Right, exactly. I mean, there's always another. And I know my options. I've had, the experience now to even make better decisions. But I feel like I did everything in my power. I feel like stronger than I have ever in my whole life. Like, I don't know. And everyone is like shocked with that because they're like, it didn't go as the way you thought. But to be honest, nothing in my life kind of goes the way that I planned it. God always has a plot twist for me. So this is nothing new. You know what I mean? For me, this is nothing new. I did everything I could. I did all the research and I was informed. Even when we got to the hospital, I knew my rights. I knew what I wanted. I knew what moves to make when I got there. I knew what I could say, what I could do. I had my doula there. I had my husband there. So like, no part of it do I regret at all. I feel good about it. It wasn't what I planned, but that's kind of just how my life goes. So there's that.
And T, since you just mentioned that obviously she can have another, what is your take on a VBAC, and will you tell the people what that is? And how do you fully prepare for one?
So like I said, she can actually still have a home birth even after having a cesarean. I know most people hear once you have one, you have to always have one, and that's not true. The statistics are there to also show that's not true. But you can definitely have a VBAC, and you can even have it at home. There's plenty of moms who have had babies at home on their fourth, and they had a C-section with the first, but everyone after that was at home or at a birth center. So, and a VBAC is a vaginal birth after a cesarean. So sometimes you may see a number in between there, and that's because that's the second or third baby, or fourth or fifth, because people do it, time that they're having this VBAC. So it's just a vaginal birth after a cesarean. And how you fully prepare is, most of the times people don't know that they actually get scar tissue around their incision, so that would be like the most riskiest part. But you can actually go to a pelvic floor therapist, and they can help with that incision and help to heal it in the correct way. That way you don't have any issues. Of course, there's always risk with everything that you do, so you'll just have to make sure that your health is up to par to be able to have a home birth. There are some OBs that are supportive for having VBACs. You have to make sure you find a supportive VBAC OB. And so make sure that you ask questions even within the community of people who have had one with an OB. That way you can know, because unfortunately there are some who do say that they are, although I hate saying it, VBAC friendly. You get to when it's now you're in labor and they're trying to cut you open. So make sure that you do vet your doctor, vet your midwife, see who actually has, vet the hospital. Definitely ask about C-section rates so that you can know if this person is actually VBAC supportive or not. And then there is a Instagram page called VBAC Facts. You can go on there, and it has tons of facts that tells you all of your rights for you having a VBAC and everything. So,
Jalisa's planning for baby number 2. Look at her. Baby number 2. Okay.
Soon come.
A couple more questions, and I laugh about this question because we were just scattering. But T, what should we pack in a hospital bag? Because I was helping during the process, and T was like, "Shay, you don't need half of that stuff. Like, this is what you need."
Because you know me, and you know how so type A I am.
We're moving to the hospital. T was like, "They have this."
I was wrapping up my diffuser. I had essential oils. T was like, "You're going to deliver a baby, and this is an emergency. This isn't a hotel." I was just grabbing, because when you're like kind of like in go mode, and then you're like low key frantic, but you're also like,
what if I need?
I'm like, I need a robe. I need this. Like, girl, she was like, if you don't get this bag and go, it is time to go. This is not like we are in game time, like not luxury.
Granted, T was very sweet and gentle because she came and put her hand on me. She goes, "Shay, They have this.
But I know what she really meant.
Girl, stop.
Put it down. We are not doing this.
There's a lot of free stuff you can get from. Well, it's not even free. You're paying for it.
I was packing snacks. She said you can't eat. Like they're not gonna let you eat these snacks.
Yeah,
I was like, oh,
they have
we
a
don't
grocery
know.
bag.
Yes, we did.
Of food. Yeah. So you want to make sure that if you want underwear, you're probably not going to even wear them.
They have the best kind. Let me tell you.
They have all of the big underwear. They have all of the mesh underwear. They have all of the pads. They have it all. So utilize it while you can because you're paying for it anyway. And then make sure you have your toothbrush, all of those little necessities. You have your charger, baby's clothes. You don't need to take any diapers for the baby. They have diapers. Mm-hmm. And then take their diapers when you get ready to leave.
We cleaned up shop. So yeah, we paid for all of this.
Whatever they got in there.
Take everything that's not connected to the walls.
And it's not really much you need. Some people do like to...
You will Google and find lists, and there's like pages
long.
And pages and pages of stuff.
And I think that was initially the problem because when I heard we were going, I like already had all the Pinterest lists up and I'm like going and JaLisa's telling me stuff too. And when T called me, I was like, wait, the hospital does have this stuff? I mean, we didn't know, but
no idea.
No clue.
Clothes?
You need your toiletries and clothes.
Make sure you take something that's loose fitting.
You did tell me.
And just in case you may have to have a C-section, you don't want anything that's going to be on your stomach because that's going to feel so uncomfortable. So if you have any pregnancy leggings, take them because you're still going to be kind of pregnant after you have the baby anyway. So
yes, guys, your belly doesn't just magically disappear after the baby gets here with all of that other stuff that was in there.
So just anything that you'll be comfortable in. Some people take their own slippers or they may take their own non-slip socks. Yeah. Some people take their own gowns because they don't want to be in their gown, so you can do that. Just make sure. In their gown,
flinging it around. This is great.
Make sure your gown can come loose in the areas that they need it to, and you can find those on Amazon. You may have have some links, on there. Yeah. So yeah, and really that's it. You don't need a lot because you're gonna come back home.
Contrary to popular belief,
you're coming back home. I promise.
What are natural remedies for pregnancy constipation?
Yeah, that was a random one.
Is that a thing?
Oh, yeah.
What?
I've never been pregnant.
Oh, of course. I know.
I'm saying because I thought you remember me complaining about being constipated.
No, I remember it like once, but I just was like, okay.
No,
like, I didn't know.
I was all stuffed up.
Every poop.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah.
So, okay.
Eat more fiber. And sometimes you may have to take fiber supplements.
I did.
Change what you're eating. Eat more things that like more veggies, greens, more fruits, things like that. And that's pretty much it. Because what happens is our digestion slows down. So that's the reason why we end up being constipated. And it's like practicing giving birth sometimes.
Well, and also after birth, everyone was always talking about how painful the poop would be.
The first
Mine wasn't bad. Well, I mean, was it because I had a C-section?
Yeah.
Okay.
But even some people who have C-sections say that because maybe they have a little strain. But again, depending on what you eat, because usually your body clears out when you go into labor. Mm-hmm. Your hormones make it.
Remember, I thought I was in labor for 2 weeks because I had diarrhea.
Well, that's why I didn't think it was a problem to poop during pregnancy because she was going all the time.
The end.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, your body will start expelling. So sometimes you.
Anytime I would poop, I would be like, T, I think it's time. She's like, no, you're just pooping.
But yeah, so yeah, that first poop is usually people who have a vaginal birth, and they may have like stitches. That's scary part. You'll feel like you're about to bust the stitches.
That makes sense.
But some people feel like they're about to bust these stitches too in the C-section incision. Mm-hmm. So
that's how I felt moving around when I got home. Because at first in the hospital I was fine, but that also was because of the meds.
Yeah.
But I didn't want any meds going home, so I was like, oh, I got some ibuprofen, whatever, some regular stuff. I didn't want anything strong. When I got home, Boy, I tried to get off that couch. I was like, oh man, I for sure just bust myself right back wide open.
What is the easiest way to find a doula? And we'll end on that note.
The easiest way is, you can of course start with Google, but there's tons of directories. You can even go on National Black Doula Association, and they have a directory of doulas on there. Health in Her Hue, they have some doulas on there. What is it called?
And I'll put all of these in the description box, guys.
I think
so
it's
even
called
if you think
Mama Glow.
Okay.
Mama Glow, I think, have a directory. You can look on Facebook. There's tons of groups, especially in your area. They may be like your area name, Black Doctor.
And that's what I did on
like
doulas, midwives, postpartum doulas. I would hashtag Dallas postpartum doula, Dallas doulas, Dallas midwives, whatever. That is a way too. But this also segments into the last question. Last question. What is the best way to research all of your options? How did you find really just knowing, like, okay, so yeah, The Business of Being Born, there's some other documentaries, but as far as just really digging in and knowing your options, are there any other resources or documentaries that you would recommend?
Not really too many after watching The Business of Being Born for me.
Yeah, it seals the deal.
From there, it really kind of just triggered your research, and you just start researching all different types of things that leads to other things that leads to other things.
Pregnant in America is on Netflix too. Is another good one that is closely tied to The Business of Being Born.
I have to watch that one. I haven't heard that one before. Hopefully it's still on there.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, may have to find it on Amazon Prime.
Or YouTube. Because that's where I had to find vaccination info, circumcision info before we found out we were having a girl. But just as far as digging, I had to actually dig and purchase it on YouTube because it was not readily available.
Yeah, and that's on purpose. So, but
we won't get into that because then we'll go down a rabbit hole.
Yeah. So it's just doing basic research. Just research a term, and it's going to lead you to a lot of other things and a lot of different blogs. And just know that when you are doing your research, it's not the end all be all, because these are just also sometimes other people's experiences that you'll be reading. And you can't read too much into it because you'll start to consume that energy, and you'll take on everyone else's experience and make it your own, and now you're kind of like putting yourself into trauma.
Just think of how we research like headaches and stuff like that, and what Google tells us.
You have a brain tumor.
Exactly.
You're dying tomorrow.
Exactly. So, and then also just get a doula. Get a doula. They will help validate the information and the research that you do. So this is not to say that your doula should be your end-all be-all. They also require that you do look up some things for yourself and find the information. And then if you want to bring it back and say, this is what I found, blah, blah, blah. I intentionally tried to not do that to T and just ask a bunch of questions. I would always try to do a little digging first and then take it back and say, this is what I found. Does this match with what you know and what you've seen? Stuff like that. So I do want to add that before everyone thinks you don't have to do any research and just listen to what your doula says, and that's it.
And even take those questions to your doctor.
Yeah.
You should always go to your medical provider with a list of questions, and no, they're not getting out of there in 5 minutes from just saying hi and checking you and go. They need to sit down and listen to you and have them answer those questions, because that can let you know a lot about who they are. Even if they get frustrated because you're asking them a lot of questions, that's a red flag, because that means that you're not going to hear me after so long.
Right.
You're probably going to tune me out if I keep telling you the same thing over and over.
Yep.
So you want to be able to find somebody that's patient with you and don't mind answering your questions.
Yeah, and that was one thing that my midwife made sure to do before we even got into her checking anything. She was like, okay, what questions do you have? And oftentimes we would be like, so we only have like 2 questions, but because she would still let us text, or if it was an emergency call or whatever. But that was something that she made sure every appointment. So what's going on? How are you feeling? What questions do you have? And then we would go check everything that needed to be checked for that visit. But it's extremely important. But thank you, T.
Of course.
Thank you for coming on. If you guys have additional questions, this is my last visit, but she'll come back over if you have more questions. This is me like,
Come on.
Not nudging her. But yeah, if you guys have more questions, leave them down below. Also, make sure you are following Mama. Are there any punctuation?
Just periods. Mama, period, the number 2, period, mama.
Perfect. And we'll put it down here for you guys to follow. And I'll also put a lot of the resources that we mentioned in here in the description box. Along with that, I forgot what I was going to say.
Links to the items.
Yes, that stuff.
We both got mom brain.
It's actually gotten worse. I wasn't that bad in pregnancy. I'm actually really, really bad now. But yeah, all that good stuff. Make sure you guys are following on everything. Instagram, Pinterest, Twitter, Facebook, all that stuff. If you have video suggestions, drop them down below. If you have questions, drop them down below. That's all I have. I love you guys. Peace out.